Personally, I find that there is nothing more meaningful in becoming a teacher than building real relationships with my students. Of course, I love teaching science and I love teaching physics and getting them excited about those kind of things, but honestly that takes a backseat with really helping to get to know the students and being able to be a part of their journey and helping them to discover themselves and discover their passions in their life. For me, my favorite teacher that I ever had was my second grade teacher, Mrs. Iman. And it's not because I remember the lessons or the projects that we did in the class or that she really taught something well. I don't even remember those things. The thing that I really remembered about her class is I felt that she noticed me, that she cared about me. And that made a huge difference. I was this like really quiet and shy like Asian kid, I'm half Japanese, and I pretty much just didn't say anything all the time. And I probably didn't even say like more than 10 words to her. If she was asking me questions, I probably just said yes, no, or something like that. But I felt that she noticed me, that she cared about me. And being able to have that care, I feel like has always made her my favorite teacher. And I feel so many times the kids, they're not going to remember much, but if you care about them, if you notice them, that's what's really going to be making a difference in their lives. I have a lot of great tips though I want to talk about with building meaningful relationships, and my favorite is the fifth one, so I hope you guys stay for all of it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is just names and saying hi. So like I mentioned, students want to be noticed. They want to be seen. Okay, maybe you feel like, oh, that shy or quiet person doesn't want to be seen or anything like that, but that's not true. We all want some kind of attention. We all want to be noticed and seen in one way or another. Maybe not spotlighted, maybe not being humiliated, but we all want to be seen. And a great way of being able to show somebody that, hey, I see you, you're important, I care about you, is knowing their name. I'm not like the best with names, but I always try to make sure to memorize everyone's name by the second day. Yeah, and that's right, 100 students I try to memorize by the second day. And this shows students, hey, I care about you, I see you, I know you a little bit. And they're impressed by that, and they take me seriously by being able to see that I know who they are. The other thing is saying hi. This is extremely important. Whenever I see kids in the hallway, usually, they're diverting their eyes, they're not trying to see me, but I always make it a point when I see my students in the hallway, I'm saying hi. And this might be a little bit dramatic, but I always remember hearing this story of this person who was going to go commit suicide, and they said that if anyone said hi to them before they walked to the bridge, they wouldn't do it. And then, you know what? That person committed suicide, and they found this note that said, if anyone had said hi to me, I wouldn't have done it. And that just really showed me something, like, we all want to be seen. Like, we want someone just to notice us, just to say hi. And I feel like that, that one high five, that could change the world for somebody. So all the time students are ignoring me, students are trying to divert their eyes, but I always make sure if I see them, hey Julie, how's it going on? Hey, whatever, how's it going? I always make sure to say hi whenever I see anybody in the hallway. And, just do that in general. Whenever you see teachers, say hi. Be a positive person in the class. The second point that I want to talk about is noticing your students outside of your classroom. So I teach physics, I teach science. Not all students are great at those kind of things. And so many times it can be demoralizing or humiliating that the only thing you know them is how they are in your classroom, and they just kind of suck in your classroom. So it's great when you're able to see them outside the classroom. Like, you go visit their soccer game and you say, hey, you did such a great job as goalie. I saw you make that save. That was awesome. Or I remember I had this one kid, he was pretty much just did nothing all the time, and I went to his wrestling match and I was like, hey, during that wrestling match, you were so great doing blah, blah, blah. And, just noticing and showing that, you're more than physics, you're more than this classroom, and I see that is so important. So I always try to make it a point, especially if they're having a hard time in the class, to see other things. Like, maybe they'll come in with a poster. I'm like, wow, did you draw that? Or maybe I'll hear them talking about anime or something like that. I'm like, oh, anime. Oh, have you ever watched Attack on Titans? Blah, blah, blah. But noticing something different, especially if they're not doing so well in your class, really helps them to know, hey, I know something more about you. I know you're more than someone that's just bad at science. and it's a great way to build this rapport with the students. The third thing that I want to talk about is something I do with my students at the beginning of every year is have them fill out a profile sheet. And this profile sheet is just like, what's your name? Are you involved in any clubs or sports? What do you want to be when you grow up? What did you want to be when you were 7 years old? And it has a lot of these kind of random questions. And I make sure when they fill that out, I don't just read it and just throw it out. I make sure to read it and I put a bunch of comments on it. Like right from the beginning, I spend so much time on this. Probably like more than any grading or anything like that. I spend hours and hours and hours writing on their profile sheet what I think about it. Like, oh, I play soccer too. Or like, oh, that's great, you want to be an astronaut. Did you know about blah, blah, blah? So I mark up their papers so much and then I make sure to give it back to them. So right from the beginning, it's saying like, hey, I noticed you. I see what you're interested in. Hey, I read all of this and I think that's great. And you're showing this and I make sure whenever students are talking about things personal, whether that's a writing assignment or whatever it is, I make sure to spend the most time, even when it's not graded, even though it's not usually graded, I make sure to spend the most amount of time making comments, making sure I see you, I hear you, and that's great. Like, I make sure to spend so much time on those comments, and it makes a huge difference with the students really making sure that, like, hey, I care about you. This is a person that cares about you. The fourth thing that I want to talk about is your attitude and just being genuine. So there's nothing that you can be other than yourself. If you're going to try to be something else, students are going to catch up on that, and they don't want to listen. They don't want to be around that. So make sure whoever you are, whether it's a nerd, whether it's a whiz person, or whether it's an athletic person, that you are being yourself, okay? And when you're relating to other people, don't try to be cooler than you are. Don't be trying to be nerdier than you are or really into books or whatever. Just be yourself. And a lot of teachers, what I see is they think like they're better than people. Like, oh, like I'm the teacher, you're the student, you listen to me. And a lot of times I see so many times like teachers like bossing around kids, like, hey, go pick that up for me and bring it over here. And it's fine if they want to help and things like that, but I hate seeing this kind of like authoritative like control on these kids. It's like, I'm a human being, you're a human being, and let's try to like treat each other like that. So I highly suggest that, you don't see yourself as better. You see yourself as a human, and you see them as a human, and you try to say, hey, let's two humans just try to help each other. The last thing that I want to talk about, and this is my favorite thing that I do with my students, I started doing this like 3 years ago, and it just works for me. It might not work for everyone, but every marking period, we have 4 marking periods a year, I make sure to talk with my students one-on-one. And usually it's only a 5-minute conversation. A lot of times students are anxious about this. Because they think they're in trouble or something like that. But I make it a point, hey, I'm not here to say you have to do better. I'm not here to say you have to do your homework. I'm here, I just want to know how you are doing, how you're doing inside the class, how you're doing outside the class. And I just want to catch up with you for 5 minutes. And what I find really important about this is just being able to listen to them. Just to be able to hear them and listen to them. And sometimes I only talk to them for 3 minutes, and sometimes I talk to them for like 10 minutes. And because the class time is so important, I only do this on days where students are reviewing or like working on labs like on their own, and I just pull them aside one by one, just once per marking period, and just hear them out. And from my own experience, teachers love to talk. They talk and talk and talk, and they think they have the greatest advice, maybe that's me, and they just kind of share everything. But I find like no one wants to listen to that. If you've ever been in a classroom, no one wants to. People would like to listen to you, and they feel inspired by you once you've listened to them, once you've heard them out. And that's what I like to do during these 5 minutes. It's just like, hey, how are you doing? How's it going? How's life? And when you like listen to them and ask them good questions, I find that this has really brought great relationships. And this is also the time where I've seen students progress the most. If they weren't doing that well, they've started to try a lot harder. They started to do a lot more. And it's honestly been one of my favorite things I've done as a teacher is be able to have these one-on-one conferences once per marking period. I really value the class time. I go from bell to bell, so I can only fit it in once per marking period. But it's such an important thing and something that's really been a game changer for me as a teacher and helped to build the relationships. Well, thank you guys for watching, and I hope this inspires you in one way or another. If you're new, just know that whatever tricks and tips you try to implement, it takes time. So please don't get discouraged if you try something and it's a total failure. We've all had so many failures, and to really get those meaningful relationships, to really be a great teacher, it takes so many failures. So good luck on your failures, and I'm excited for when you succeed. See you guys. Bye.